Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how you doing tonight?
Good. It was a fairly tepid game. This is the second time I've said that in terms of Oilers wins, first against San Jose and now against Arizona. But it's the truth. The Oilers won the game 6-1. It was like a Tier 1 team against a Tier 4 team, frankly. Arizona, I think, is the worst team in the NHL, and they certainly looked it tonight. The grade A shots were 17-5 for the Oilers. When it came to 5 alarm chances, it was 7-3 for the Oilers. The game was never in doubt. The Oilers dominated throughout. Arizona put up little fight. Nonetheless, Bruce, a huge win for the Oilers in terms of the playoff standings. With LA losing, it looks like they're losing 5-1, if I'm not mistaken. So let's just check that. And of course, that'll change. That game will be over. A 6-1 final for the Kraken over LA. That's huge because, people were looking at the Kraken as kind of a free crack at 2 points in the standings, and that hasn't turned out to be the case tonight with LA. So, excelente. All right, Bruce, you were at the game.
Nice to get some help from the Kraken.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
What was the mood like at the game?
Yes, sir. I was at the game. Yeah, it was. I was fairly jovial. I think people felt like the game was in good control. Let's see what the attendance was. 15,237. I have a seat in the upper bowl with my mini pack, right behind the visiting team's net. So I see the Oilers attack for 2 periods, and I'm looking right over the goalie's shoulder, right up the ice. Get a great view of the depth of the game from there. And what I saw was that Edmonton had a lot more depth than Arizona did, and they controlled large segments of that game, out shooting the Coyotes 42-32, and in shot attempts it was 69-50 for Edmonton. So fairly good control there, and as you said, the more difficult shots, Edmonton had an even larger edge in those than they did in shots of all descriptions.
Yeah, and the Arizona goalie, Vegemelka, looked good until he didn't. He sort of let out some pretty big rebounds as the game went on, and they were pounded in the net. All right, let's do our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. Podcasters, what is your good thing?
Yeah, a few good things in this game, but I'm going to settle on Jesse Puljujärvi, who got promoted to the first line tonight and responded in fine fashion with a pair of first assists, primary assists, when he smartly passed the puck to Connor McDavid on one occasion and to Leon Draisaitl on the other occasion. And both times the gifted teammates accepted the gift and put the puck in the net. But they were both very fine plays by Jesse. First one especially with the score 0-0, game's first goal, when he was just winning battles along the boards, and they were having all kinds of trouble getting the puck past him. And it looked like they were going to get it out in the was at least the second try, and he kept it in just inside the blue line, and he just kind of filtered an outside pass, and he just lobbed it through the lane into a place where McDavid could get it, and then McDavid took care of the rest of the business in tight to the net with a deke and a real roof job off the backhand to put Oilers ahead to stay. But I thought that was a very smart play by Jesse, just to funnel the puck in there when he held it in, because Arizona thought they were getting the puck out of the zone and they were starting to vacate the back. Same thing we saw Oilers doing the other night. This is what Arizona did, and there's McDavid alone with the puck. Well, you like that. And sure enough. Then he also set up the game's last goal. And again, it was a crazy long forecheck where Edmonton kept stealing or intercepting passes where Arizona couldn't get out, and Puljujärvi himself seemed to be in the middle of it, that they just couldn't get past him. And then finally there was a play where I'm still not sure McDavid didn't get a piece of this puck and kind of deflect the clearing shot, but again it went right to Yessa in the slot at the end of the sequence, and he spotted Draisaitl hanging off the side of the crease, and he managed to filter again a nice pass through a couple of sets of skates and sticks and so on, and there was Draisaitl's big paddle on the edge of the blue paint, just tapping it home, and perfect pass and easy goal from Leon's perspective. But in between times, I mean, 2 assists plus 2, that all looks good. He played almost 15 minutes tonight, which is more what you want to see with a winger. He played a minute and a half on the power play, and he did okay there. He had 4 shots on net. He had 4 hits. He had 3 giveaways. He had the puck a lot, but he also had 3 takeaways, so he got the puck back a lot. And I just thought he was very involved in the game and physically involved and right in the middle of the action for many different shifts. And he was rewarded with those 2 assists and overall more encouraging game than we've seen from him since he came back from his latest injury.
He really gave Strawman a good hit with a kind of a reverse hit, knocked him right on his keister. Yeah, that goal by McDavid was interesting, Bruce. I was thinking earlier today, thinking about the Oilers' woes, and one of the things we have seen from the Oilers constantly is this. I was thinking about what's going wrong with Nurse specifically, and this kind of rushing out of the zone before you have clear possession, and the puck's really going out and getting caught on that. That's happened to Nurse and the Oilers' defense a lot, and that did happen to Arizona there, and McDavid puts it top shelf where Mama keeps the cookies. So that was a great goal by Connor McDavid and a very nice play by Puljujärvi. There was some grumbling, I think a bit at least, when Puljujärvi got put on the top line today. Of course, there's grumbling about everything the Oilers do, like that without exception. Without exception, there's people who think it's the end of the earth. I liked it. I mean, I don't. No. Why wouldn't you try? You just got whipped. Absolutely got whipped. Shake it up.
Better change something. Now I heard from the Don, and he was saying, "What did Puljujärvi do to earn his spot on the first line?" My answer was, "What did anybody else do?" I mean, you got to change things up at some point. I mean, that was it turns out to have been somewhat of an inspired choice. I think he, yes, it needed a vote of confidence more than anything from the coach, and he got it, and he paid it back.
Yeah, I was starting to worry a little bit. Like, I don't think Todd McClellan liked Puljujärvi much as a young player. Liked his game, to be fair to McClellan, probably was okay on the person. I don't know. But, there was a lot of really bad negative rumbling from media people who were close to McClellan at the time. And in the end, Drew Remenda kind of spilled the beans about what that coaching staff thought about Puljujärvi at the time, and they were really negative on him. So as things have been turning a little bit down for Puljujärvi recently, I was thinking, geez, I wonder if Woodcroft kind of harbors some of that residual feeling about this player.
All right.
And if he's going to get, not get a fair shake from the coach. I didn't really think that, I'm just a thought that popped into my mind, remembering all of that. So I thought it was actually good to see that vote of confidence from the coach, who I think is quite an interesting cat. Like, I think he's quite a positive thinking guy and a real strong teacher. So I would have been surprised if he had held some kind of grudge like that, and it turns out he probably doesn't. So anyway, nice to see Puljujärvi play so well. Bruce, my good thing. I mean, I could go with Ryan McLeod, who scored an absolutely fantastic goal, taking a pass from Yamamoto on the power play and charging in there. And maybe, it's hard to know whether he intended to do that first goal or not. I rated him. Did. I think he did too. So I rated that as actually a 5-alarm shot. Like, he was trying to do that. It's a very dangerous shot, and we're seeing it in the NHL a lot.
Lots.
Just like we're seeing the over-the-shoulder shot from a tight angle. Like, the NHL shooters have raised their game and are making shots that previous generations of NHL shooters, if they weren't named Wayne Gretzky, didn't attempt very often and didn't make. So, but they're becoming commonplace. So McLeod did have a great game, and I gave him an 8. But I gave an 8 to Leon Draisaitl as well. And his game really starts picking up. I think it's early in the second on the power play. He gets set up by McDavid, and it's just a total espo of a shot that Draisaitl gets from the shot on the power play. He's in the slot, and it's people draped all over him, and he gets a fast, hard shot on Vejmelka. Then twice in a row, and on the second one, the goal results, Draisaitl bursts down the wing, cuts in the middle, and changes the angle on a shot twice in a row on shots at the last second, which makes it exceedingly difficult for the goalie. And the second time he does that, there's a rebound, and Hyman comes in and cashes it in for a goal. I mean, that kind of shooting stick work, I think Draisaitl is actually more known for, obviously he's known for the executioner shot, his one-timer on the power play. I don't know if he does this a lot, where he will change the angle on his shot. He usually just hammers it, honestly. But there's a chance, if he starts doing this all the time on these shots coming down the wing and changing the angle like this, if this is a bit of a new trick, maybe you have a more memory for him doing this constantly, but I actually don't. But we see this from a lot of NHL shooters. We saw it from Duchesne of Nashville. We saw it from McKinnon of Colorado. Some of the best goal scorers do this consistently. Draisaitl can do whatever he wants with the puck. He's a magic player. And this just seemed one more trick from his tool bag. I got a cat going crazy here in the corner over here. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, I can hear that.
Yeah, I think that there's something outside our window, maybe a coyote or something. Yeah. Then, of course, Draisaitl takes a nice pass from Puljujarvi and just puts it in the net. And he says, you can lip read, he says, nice pass to Puljujarvi, which is high praise coming from the master himself on making nice passes. A great game from Leon Draisaitl. He scored his 48th goal of the year. Good for him. What a great game. I'm just going to go.
Yeah, he's on fire. Eight goals in his last 5 games, scored at least 1 in every game. It's up to 48 on the season, and it seemed like he was overtaken, and Matthews had left him for dead about a week ago, and now all of a sudden they're back tied, and it's Matthews that's getting the cheesy empty netters to try and keep up,
I guess Austin Matthews may not win a few weeks ago, they were pushing hard for him to win the MVP award.
They wanted him to put on the crown.
He's having a pretty good year, I have to.
He's great.
And he is a hell of a hockey player.
Yeah.
But I think if the Oilers make the playoffs, it'll be McDavid, would be my bet, Bruce, for MVP. Maybe, did McKinnon get off to kind of a slow start? Man, that guy is a good hockey player, Nathan McKinnon. And Barkov in Florida, like the players that I've seen who have really impressed me have been McKinnon and Barkov, other than McDavid and Draisaitl. I think Austin Matthews is a good player, but the ones that I think have stood out, just at least in the games I've seen, are those other 2 guys from Florida and Colorado, and our 2 guys here in Edmonton. And there goes my cat.
And Shesterkin and Rangers.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't think
crazy in the nets that he's making a case as well.
It's a little early actually on it, like because it's a close race, I think.
Huh?
So they were holding that victory parade in Toronto, but guess they need one badly. All right, Bruce. What is your bad thing?
Yeah, my bad thing. The one Oiler line that didn't have it going tonight was the line of the newly put together line of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with Derek Brassard and Josh Archibald, who got moved up to right wing on that line, and they just didn't seem to have any flow going on. Like they were. Archibald was throwing his body around as he does. He had 6 hits in that game, but no shot attempts. Brassard had 1 shot attempt that was blocked. Nuge had 1 shot on net, and it may well have come on the power play. Because when they were on the ice, the shots when Brassard was on the ice was 8-0 for Arizona. 8-0. and 7-0 for Archibald. So that was the one line. Like, and you're not necessarily going to get all four lines going on a nightly basis, but this was one night where the other three lines were all going fairly good. And I mean the line with McLeod and Fogel and Ryan was that they were terrific. But this one line just was I think struggling a little bit tonight, and there just wasn't the chemistry there that they had in the previous game. Of course, they had Puljujärvi on the line, and he was replaced with Archibald, and that did not improve that line. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I actually don't think McLeod is a top 6 winger at this point in his NHL career. I mean, tonight he had his best game of the year probably, but I don't think he is.
He was playing 4C tonight.
Yeah, he was playing 4C, and I just don't think he is. But I think he should be on the third line, like on the wing, unless they want him at center. Maybe they need him at center as the fourth center. But they have Derek Ryan; they can play there. I get, Ryan is better on the wing, so maybe that's why. If you're going to maximize your center ice position, which is the key forward position, you want to have the three big guys and then McLeod. I mean, that's a pretty good group of centers. You have to say it's the best group of centers in the NHL, down the middle. So with McLeod there in the 4C spot, but yeah, Brassard, I think he has looked good. Tonight didn't look. No. He didn't do anything, but Archibald, I don't know if is he a third line winger? Is Cassian, like both those guys have been really iffy hockey players. Fogel, I think, is a third line winger. So I don't know why. Why can't they move Fogel up to the third line? It might mean shifting someone off to their wing they're not used to playing or something like that. But Brassard's a veteran player; he should be able to do that. So I think Fogel should be on your third line with Nugent Hopkins and Brassard probably. And I haven't seen again. I know every time there's some people in Bakersfield that think Holloway just isn't ready, some fans down there. And I respect that view because they're seeing those games more than I am. I'm not seeing them, but I saw some highlight reel plays by Holloway on the weekend. Man, he made a couple nice passes. So we'll see about that. I still have a feeling we may see Holloway, Dylan Holloway, up on the wing.
I have a theory about fans of minor league teams, having been one myself of the Edmonton Trappers for many years. And that is that they always seem to think, well, this guy that I really like this guy, and he's going to be good in the big leagues here, but he needs just a little bit more time, maybe another season down there, at least another month before he's quite ready to go up yet. And it's kind of I won't say biased, but almost a little bit of wishful thinking that gets mixed in there. They're not anxious to see the good ones go.
So that's what it. Yeah, that could well be, Bruce.
There's a little bit of psychology in there, and that's only natural.
Yeah, I agree. That third line was mediocre. Was okay. I mean, they didn't give up anything to speak of. There wasn't. I don't think there was a grade A shot in those 7 shots or 6 shots they were out for. But they didn't create any either. At least according to what I was watching.
They created nothing.
Yeah, they created
no shots at all.
Yeah. Nuge was good on the PK and on the power play.
Yep. So as usual, he's got so many Swiss Army knife attachments that he's going to help you in some area or another. But his line wasn't really going, so that's not a night we had a whole lot of bad things to choose from. So
no, they did actually. They were out for one bad one. Keller's one-timer in the second. Nuge was out there. I'm not sure if that was even strength or not, but Nuge was one of the people who allowed that cross-seam pass. He and can't remember who else the other guy was. Bruce, my bad thing was the Arizona Coyotes. That is I don't know. Like maybe they're a better team than they look, but that team just looks like a shell of an NHL team. I mean, how many players on that team could make your average playoff team? And tonight they were missing Jacob Chychrun. I guess he's hurt.
Yeah.
And they've just traded Johan Larsson, who was a decent forward.
Yeah.
That is a terrible hockey team. So, and they're going to play, what is it, 4,000 seat arena next year, something like that. What a mess of a franchise. It's a
Yeah.
joke.
Well, I mean, this was a schedule loss for them tonight too. I mean, they played in Winnipeg last night. Not only, they played. I think it was 7 seconds left in overtime when they lost it. So essentially, they played a 65-minute game in Winnipeg, which is a non-trivial flight to Edmonton.
Yeah.
And at least I got the clocks going in the right direction. But uh, them coming in here and Edmonton stinging from a very bad, embarrassing loss on national TV was a recipe for not much good happening for the Coyotes tonight, and not much good did happen for the Coyotes tonight. And I'm going to hand it to a couple of local pundits, Jason Strudwick of TSN 1260, who went on his daily prediction. He went on a limb and said Arizona's going to get 1 goal or none. And I thought, well, that's bold. And here we are. And then Robbie Brown of 630 Chad, another former NHL player, and he said the Oilers will be stinging, and Arizona is just coming into a hornet's nest of, Edmonton needs a win. They got to play their best game. They're going to be, cranky as hell, and it's going to be a long night. And he predicted 5-1 or 6-2 for the Oilers, but he also went out on a limb and said that their Japanese Village Goal Light, which is a feature they give out every time that the Oilers score 5 goals, and he promised that they'd be giving out that prize of a free appy by the end of the second period. He didn't just say it was going to happen in the game. He predicted correctly that the Oilers would have 5 by the time the second period was over. So those guys really nailed what kind of a game it was going to be. And sometimes, all these pundits, they got some right and some wrong, and we always ridicule them when they get them wrong. Well, so I'm going to give them a little pat in the back for getting this one right. Well done, Jason and Robbie.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of just how bad this team was. Anyway,
They
let's.
had 17 minus players in this game, Dave. They had Nick Ritchie, who managed to come out even, and the other 17 were all -1 to 3.
Is that your number?
No, my number is actually 4.
Okay.
And my number that's the number of times, consecutive times Evander Kane spent in the penalty box between actually spending any time on Edmonton Oilers bench.
Yes.
This was really quite remarkable. Kane went in with the coincidental minor at 1906 of the second. So, of course, he came out at 106 of the third, and he got involved in the play right away, and he started running around. Like, he was still mad at whatever that scrum was. I thought, the whole second intermission, they'd come out and everybody would be cooled down. Well, he had a bee in his bonnet, and he ran Goss Despair, and he ran Dyson Mayo, and then he creamed a third guy, and finally the ref called him for, was it, what the heck did he call it? Interference. When he was trying to shoot the puck and he nailed the guy at the same time, but he just came out of the box. It seemed like he was just trying to get a piece out of every player and finally got a penalty. So now he goes back into the box at 1:38 of the third. So he comes out at 3:38. Now he gets another shift of almost a minute, 54 seconds. And again, the puck follows him around. He's barging around all over the place. And then he takes a tripping penalty. And of course, by now he's getting real mad. But at this time, he also, like, I was watching him the whole time. I thought, geez, that's a foul. That's a borderline foul. They're going to call one of these ones. Surely, eventually they did. So it goes back into the box. Oilers kill off yet again. I mean, this is the impressive part. The Oilers killed all 3 of the penalties right in a row. The first one was coincidental, but the second, third, and fourth one, so it just came. So he goes back in the box at 6:47. He comes out at 8:47. Now he plays another 20-second shift, and he finally gets to the bench at 9:07 of the third, fully 10 minutes after he'd gotten on the ice. He didn't spend a single second on Edmonton's bench. And by the score sheet, he actually took 8 minutes in penalties in a span of 7 minutes and 41 seconds. So seems impossible. Of course, he didn't serve the 8 minutes until after 9 minutes and 41 seconds, but still, he spent like about 80% of his time in the penalty box on just this consecutive thing. And by the fourth one, the fans were booing, but geez, he tripped the guy. He stuck his stick right in this guy's skates, and he went down. And I didn't think the ref had any choice there. And I mean, like I say, it came out of the box, and I was watching like a hawk because it looked like he was just looking to get. So it was kind of nice to see uh, uh, that degree of passion from the guy, but he needed to rein it in a bit. And you'd think, well, sooner or later they're going to score on the power play, and then he's going to go to the bench with the skate of shame, and he's going to sit there for a while. But they kept killing the penalties, so he kept coming out, and he seemed to be the like a magnet, the puck and the play, and the other team, they would just all gravitate to him right away, and all hell broke loose there for a long stint. I don't think I've ever seen a guy take 4 penalties in a row without making it to the bench even once.
I don't think he deserved the first two, honestly. I'm not sure what he got the first one for, because if it was for the hit, if it was for the hit on Keller, Keller was falling down to the ice, and it looked way worse than it was.
Okay.
Kane missed him with the hit.
Oh, right, yeah.
Kane
I saw that.
He pretty much missed him with the hit.
There's a replay of
the
that.
whole Arizona team reacted as if he had plastered Keller. And then that carried over into the third, where they were coming after him and he was coming after them. And you better be, I'll tell you what, if you're coming after Evander Kane, you better be ready to go, because he's ready to go. And he absolutely obliterated Cam Dineen with a hit,
right,
when he got that penalty. And I don't think he deserved it. He was going hard to the net, and Dineen's coming the other way, and they smashed.
He was shooting the puck at the time, I thought, and there was like a collision as opposed to him.
Hyman actually got they were both, Kane was kind of jamming at it, and Hyman, I think, actually got the shot. But it was a marginal penalty. He really hit that guy, though. Did he ever hit that guy? That was a Mark Messier kind of moment of intimidation, where Kane had a chance to hit someone, and he did, and he obliterated the player. I like Evander Kane's game, Bruce. And the funny thing is, Arizona, not only did the Oilers kill off those penalties, Arizona did not get one grade A shot that entire time when he was in the penalty box. So it's not like the Oilers were hurting through that sequence.
So 2 Mark Messier moments in the game then, because he got one by Kane, and the McLeod, the quick deke on the breakaway, where he went back forehand to backhand, and then as he was coming across, he just quickly stuck it in between. As soon as the goalie opened up, he just did the quick, sort of half deke instead of going all the way across with the puck. He just quickly opens them up and sticks it through the legs. Messier used to do that a ton, and it was really hard to stop at his speed. And of course, McLeod's got an equivalent level of speed. When the guy's going fast, the goalie, he's either opening up to go with him, or he doesn't get over there. So if you got the wherewithal to sort of do the half deke and shove it through the 5-hole, it's going to work. And that goal really reminded me of Mark Messier, who did that a lot.
That goal was created by McLeod's speed, because it wasn't a fancy deke at all, but it was just, it happened so fast. He was in there, just boom, so fast that it happened. And if McLeod takes the puck to the net like that, he's going to have success in the NHL. So good for him for doing that tonight. Bruce, my number is 34. That's the average of number of NHL games, career NHL games played by 4 of the 6 defensemen of the Coyotes. Mayo, Capobianco, Dineen, and Kolyachonok. I think his name is Kolyachonok. And listen, these guys, 1 or 2 of them may become adequate or good NHL players in time, but you're not going to win a lot of games. And we were talking earlier, like the Oilers had this situation early in the year when they had
sure did.
They had Niemelainen and Lagesson and Broberry and who else in the lineup? Bouchard in the lineup all at the same time. The Oilers went through a spell, and they actually did okay-ish through that spell. They didn't lose all the games, but that's pretty tough to have 4 such inexperienced defensemen all at once in your lineup. That's like, remember the 80s Leafs that had
Yep.
Benning, McGill, and Boymastruck, 3 rookies, I think, all on the team at the same time. And they were just a rancid team. And
I remember the 72 Leafs that lost their players to the WHA when they lost Ricky Lee, Brad Selwood, and who was the third guy that they lost all at the same time, and they were only left with Jim
Bob
McKinney and
Neely.
some really young guys. Yeah, some really young, unpolished guys, and it takes a while. It does take a while.
It
And
does.
you're going to learn some harsh lessons at the against star players on the other team. There's no way you're not. When you've got that many, you can't shelter them all. There's no chance.
That was just Harold Ballard being cheapskate, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And
Yep, he was
sinking.
making money hand over fist, but he lost Bernie Prant because he offered him I think it was $40,000 a year, and
Was it Jim Dor?
Philadelphia Screaming Eagles offered him $85,000 a year. Well, I mean, what's the guy going to do when he gets offered to double his pay? He's going to take it.
Was it Jim Dory? The other one who
Jim
left?
Dory, yeah, it was Jim Dory. He went to New England, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And Mike Pellick stayed in Toronto. But they had this young defense that they'd been growing for about 4 years, and they were just starting to get half decent. And then 3 of them took off to the WHA at the same time and their goalie, star goalie Bernie Parent,
Well, that's a huge, huge
and
loss.
and Jim Harrison that came out here to Edmonton, and they lost Paul Henderson, and they lost Norm Ullman that came out here, and they lost Dave Keon. I mean, they lost a huge, huge chunk of their team because Harold Ballard was too cheap to pay his players. He would rather just sit and complain about the other league.
Selwood and Lee were pretty good players. So they replaced them with John Grisdale, Larry
Yeah.
McIntyre, and Joe and the immortal Joe Lundgren. Joe
Joe
Lundgren.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, he was a Newfoundlander, Joe Lundigan, so I rooted for him. I was a Leafs fan, and at that time I was a Leafs and an Oilers fan because they weren't in the same league, so I didn't have a conflict. It was only 79 that I had to choose, and by then Harold Ballard had completely lost me, so it was an easy choice to make.
What a terrible hockey person.
Terrible
All right.
choice.
Yeah. That's true. All right. That's it for tonight, Bruce. What's up next?
All right, Wednesday night, LA Kings coming to town. This is a big game, and it's going to be almost second place on the line with the Oilers gaining 2 points on them tonight. So I haven't quite looked closely at the standings, but if the Oilers are able to beat Kings in regulation on Wednesday, that should put them in a tie. I think Oilers have a game in hand. I'm not quite sure, but it's close, and it'll be closer if the Oilers can manage to pull off a win over the Kings on home ice. And it's
it'll be an interesting game.
Todd McClellan's 1,001st game. He had his 1,000th game tonight, spoiled by Seattle Kraken.
I'm looking forward to seeing Evander Kane up against Drew Doughty, and we'll see how the Oilers' defense.
Doughty back?
Is he not playing? Oh, maybe he's not playing.
I'm not quite sure.
It'll be interesting to see also. Like the Kings are a big physical team, and the Oilers have now this kind of fast, non-physical defensive unit. And Kulak adds to that. So it'll be interesting to see, if rock beats scissors, or if the Oilers can somehow paper over that problem. See what happens. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.